get down.
All right, we're back. We're back.
We're
It's been
back.
a little while, and we're back with something new. So, Clash of Cinema is returning, and we are going to be talking about
Not
uh
one,
not
not
one, right?
two, but three
Yes,
films.
a triple threat today.
Triple threat. Which sort of, making up for like some summer busyness and
Mhm.
figured this was like a nice grouping. They're
Yep.
they're in the same what do we call it when there's the trilogy? There wasn't a fourth in this series, was there?
Yes and no. We'll talk about that.
Mm.
There kind of is, but yeah, we're diving into a classic,
Mm-hmm.
which is celebrating this year its 35th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
We're into the New Line Cinema Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series, both the one, two, and three, all three of those films.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured we'd get into that. We thought about, you could break them up into three episodes, but I think we can
Mm-hmm.
cover everything we need in one with
Mm-hmm.
kind of some of the different controversies that pop up as the sequels were made. So this
Sure.
is that's where it really comes into play.
And the fun thing with a lot of these, I mean, like in some of the cases for some of the movies we've done, I mean, they're things that I've seen, but more often than not so far, it's been also like, a journey for me because like these are movies I've never seen, and this is no exception because I had not seen any of these turtle movies up till now.
Which is
So,
that's fun because now we
hmm
not only are we talking about these, but we get to get your
hmm
fresh perspective on what you've
hmm
seen. Because most of us, like me, I saw it in theaters when it came out. I was there opening weekend.
sure.
I was so psyched to see it.
Yeah,
But somebody that's seeing it now with fresh eyes for the first time, it's really kind of cool to see what you think about it all these years later. Is it hold
that's the
up?
hope. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
hmm
But so the
Um,
first film released
yeah.
March 30th, I think 1990, 30th, 31st,
hmm
1990 was a pretty big deal. This was only 6 years after they were introduced to the world as an underground comic, and
hmm
only 3 years after the television series premiered, the animated series that was
That's
was
that's got to be some kind of record, especially for the time. I
I would
mean, like
think.
nowadays, I mean, when you see like a property come out, like a lot of these companies and stuff, I mean, they're signing like first look movie deals as the
Mhm.
like the book or the comics getting published for the first time, and like that
Right.
stuff just. But at the time, it was like unheard of. Like some of these properties have been comics or books for years before they ever were
Right.
considered to be something else.
And oddly enough, when they
hmm
create Peter Eastman and Laird,
Later,
Peter Laird, sorry,
Peter Laird, yep.
Kevin Peter Laird.
Yep.
When they created the comic, it was a one
hmm
shot and that was it. They wrote that first
hmm
issue and that was it. There was no
Yeah.
plan for any more, but because it was one of the hottest selling comics at that time, they're like, we need to do more. So they,
Yeah.
kind of, and at that moment too, they got signed by Surge Licensing, who was like, we're
hmm
gonna put this thing out there. And,
hmm
within 3 years, they had a toy deal, a cartoon deal. I mean, that's crazy how
Yeah.
quickly it happened. I
I
mean,
mean, those
really,
guys are those guys are set for life. I mean,
oh,
they've
without a doubt.
done multiple iterations of these things, TV,
It's
movie, game,
popular,
comic. I mean, they're,
still
every
popular.
every generation's got a turtle that they can look back at now.
hmm and it's been popular. It's never,
Mhm.
it's never really been to a point where somebody's like, oh, it's tired. It still
hmm
seems to generate interest. Kids are still
hmm
there, and even the adult
Yeah.
fans are still there. It's wonderful. So when this movie came out, the big deal was they were doing live action. So
hmm
everybody's like, how are they going to pull this off, right? And they said, oh, we got Jim Henson. Boom. You're like, okay, this is going to be good.
There you go. You're like, oh yeah, Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? I mean, Sesame Street.
I mean, Return of the Jedi. He was the creature shop that did all the creatures and their Jabba the Hutt and everything.
hmm
He'd done so many things. I
Yeah,
mean,
he was
everything
the
he did
the
was
name
great.
in like puppetry and animatronics, right?
Yes, I mean, he really was. And this was state of the art at the time. When they made this movie, those
hmm
heads with the mouth movements, the eye movements, all that stuff was really state of the art. They had put in quite a bit. And I think that was the majority of the budget of the film was really in the costumes. And that's why they hired a lot of unknowns, to perform in it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think of some of the names like Josh Pice, who played Raphael. I think he was body double as well as the voice. He did.
hmm
At that time, a lot of them were different actors to different voices, which they still do to this day.
Yeah.
But it
Gee,
was a pretty big
gee, I
deal.
wonder, I wonder what the combined like cost for each turtle was, right? So you're paying for the cost of the animatronic parts, you're paying for a body double, and you're paying for a
Yep.
voice. So I mean, like attach all those salaries
Yeah.
together, and that's one character
Yep. Yeah.
times 10, then times
Yeah.
four, or even
Yeah.
more,
I
right?
mean,
Because I mean, like Splinter
Splinter.
was animatronic body and voice too, wasn't he?
Yep. He was both voiced and puppeted by Kevin Clash, who's best known as Elmo, or was Elmo for a number of years.
Oh,
He he worked for Henson and did a lot of stuff, but he basically was Elmo up until maybe like 10 or so years ago. So he
okay.
was he was a pretty you think about it now, he's this, big black guy doing Splinter, but does Elmo's voice. It's so
Yeah,
interesting when it's off-putting when you see him do Elmo, you're like, wow, that just
that's
doesn't
Elmo. Wow.
seem it's
Right.
really cool. I mean, he's really good at that. All right, I'm looking up right now what the budget was for this film.
Okay.
See what budget was 13.5 million in
Okay.
1990. The worldwide gross for this movie was 202 million. So a
Oh man,
huge
wow, that percentage is
return on
great.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say probably, yeah, amazing. I would say probably close to 10 million was probably the turtle stuff, the salaries, the
sure.
costumes. I would assume that's where a good chunk of the money went,
Right.
you know. I mean, not quite. So, and I'd say maybe like 3 to 5 million was the rest of the budget for the movie. Because I mean,
Sure. I
really,
mean, like
when you
like
look at it,
shooting
it does
cameras,
look
staff, all that.
very low budget.
Oh no, I was just saying,
Hmm.
like, just imagine like all that other stuff they were able to squeeze out of the rest of that budget that you would think would cost more.
Right. The movie was directed by a guy named Steve Barron. I
Hmm.
think this was his first feature film. He had directed music videos. He was most famous for directing "Hungry Like the Wolf" by Duran
Okay.
Duran. The Aha video, "Take on Me."
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
The that actually isn't too surprising because a lot of the turtle like movement and like so even just like their like on normal on-screen movement like when it had nothing to do with fighting or whatever
Mhm.
had a very like stylistic music poppy feel to it. Like
Yep.
half the time they were like singing and dancing at moments when it didn't
Sure.
really pertain to anything, but that's just
Yeah.
like the feel. And it was
Yeah.
fine. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
Sure.
they're mutant turtles. I mean, I guess I'd rather see that than them just like walking down the street doing nothing.
Right, right. He directed a lot of stuff for Jim Henson, a series
Okay.
called The Storyteller. So I think that's
Hmm.
how he got involved with this. And from my understanding, I was reading some interviews with him, and he had said that when he was trying to help build the story, he
Hmm.
said he looked through all the comics that were available at the time and pulled out
Hmm.
the stuff he liked the best. So he pulled out like if you're familiar with the comics, obviously some of the origin, some of the when Shredder, like in the comic, he beats the crap out of Leo and they flee
Mm.
from New York City to the country. All those things were kind of taken right from the comics, and it was really
Hmm.
well done. I mean, I think they really captured the feel of that, and not only the feel of the comic, but they also kind of kept the a little bit of the feel of the cartoon, because there's a lot of things like
Yeah,
pizza and stuff. It really wasn't part of
yeah,
the
the
comic.
cartoon, and I mean, I'm sure it's harder to do in like with the animatronics and doubles and all that stuff. But I mean, I know the cartoon always gave me a feel like a little bit more of a slapstick feel. It's like
Mhm.
it
Sure.
was like dressing up like four Jerry Lewises with different like color bandanas, and then like you get Shredder coming in, and he was very serious. So like
Yes. Yeah.
he was I mean like you could tell he wasn't he was already upset for his own reasons, and then you get turtle shenanigans going on, and he's like, oh my god, he's like, who the heck are these guys?
It's true.
And and
Yeah.
and and that, like you said, like it had that same feel in the movie, right? I mean, like they weren't as slapstick, but I'm sure it was harder to do more body comedy with when you're all trussed up like that.
Yeah. But they kept them silly. They kept them
Yeah.
fun, light at
Hmm.
times. Even when it got, and I think this is where a lot of the controversy came in with the film was you know, parents were, oh, cool. My kids love the cartoon. Let me go take them to see this. And it was a little darker, more
Right.
violent than we anticipated.
Sure. Yeah.
And that generated a lot of complaints to the studio saying, my kids shouldn't be exposed to this kind of violence, blah, blah, blah.
Well, then why
Uh,
are you taking him to see it?
exactly right. But yeah, I mean, so what did you think of the film for the first time? You watched it for the first
So,
time. Like, what was your
so,
feeling?
so TMNT one, um, is very much the world building origin story stuff. You
Mhm.
know, we're talking about like where they came from. We're getting to meet Master Splinter. You know, they have this like surrogate like father son relationship,
Mhm.
and you know I mean they call him like dad several times. So you know it's definitely like a weird blended family. You know,
Mhm.
and I mean blended. You know, with like mutagenic like ooze,
Right,
but although that you don't find
right.
out till later, but like um and you got April O'Neil, you got Casey Jones, you know, you got New York City. um, it almost felt like I was watching the Warriors if they had added the TMNT to it. I mean, for
Right.
lack of a
Yeah.
better term, you know, at
They were
one
one of
point
the
you
gang.
see, yeah, but at one point you see some like hoodlums like trip somebody and try to steal their purse, and then
Right.
like I think it's Raph
Raph. Yep.
Raph like trips them, and he's like walking around in a trench coat, and then him and
Mhm.
Casey Jones beat him up, and I'm just like I
Mhm.
really feel like this is like one of the Warrior fights.
Yeah.
And uh and then you know, you get introduced to there's the Foot Clan,
Mhm.
who are sort of like rounding up like wayward kids or like
Yes.
misunderstood kids to kind of like
Yes.
convert them to like uh
So,
Shredder's side. And
yes.
that part was a little bit of a hard sell to me because the kids definitely, like, some of them you got to hear from, and they sounded indoctrinated, and but like
Think of the
Shredder
one.
wasn't very like convincing. Like he didn't seem like, you know, oh hey, if you come work with me, I'm gonna give you the loving family
Right.
that you deserve. He was
Right.
he was very much like, you know, you're misunderstood, and I'm gonna beat you into like um submission
Right.
into my family.
Right. So one of the gang members, the kids, uh,
Yes.
not the Danny, but the other one. He
Yep.
kind of had like the brown hair, the little mustache. That's
hmm
Sam Rockwell, who has gone
Yeah.
on to do some huge things over the years.
Young Sam Rockwell. Yeah.
Yeah, one of his first roles, which is pretty cool. And anybody that if you don't know Sam
hmm
Rockwell, look him up. He's in a ton
hmm
of stuff. Galaxy
Uh,
Quest
I,
is his
I mean,
favorite.
a couple times in the Marvel universe, doing
Mhm.
he's done
Yep.
lots of stuff. Yeah.
Iron Man 2. Yeah, yeah, he was in a lot of stuff. He's a great great character actor. And it's
Mhm.
funny seeing him kind of get a start here. And he does, he's great in the role. He does fine. He doesn't have many lines, so you give him he
Right.
did well with what he had.
Sure. And I mean, we get introduced to a handful of people, and
Mhm.
I don't really know if this necessarily contributes to one of the controversies or not, but it definitely feels like we get introduced to some people that come the second movie, which I'm assuming, you know, Surge and you know,
Yep.
new line, like, you know, we're like, oh my god, this is great, let's do more.
Right.
And
That was a
when we
big
eventually
thing.
get to talking to two, you know, there's definitely some departures in like characters that we
Mhm.
had introduced, as well as
Yeah.
the, you know, corresponding actors. But you know, you get people like April's boss is also the father of one of the boys in Shredder's gang,
Right.
so you know, you've got kind of
Yep.
the through line there.
Mhm.
You get the police chief, who
Chief
he kind of
Stern. Yeah.
plays a decent like sized role, because you know his what he's got like a re-election coming up, but also like there's the stuff
Yep.
with the turtles and the Foot Clan. So he gets
Right.
his chops busted by April, you know,
Right. Yep.
throughout most of the movie.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moving parts, but I thought the movie came together kind of nicely, up to and including uh Domino's getting delivered through the
Right.
pizza grate, and
Yep.
the
Which
turtle
the
giving
delivery
him the
man,
business.
the guy that
Hmm?
played the delivery man was Raphael or Donatello. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Donatello is
oh,
stunt double.
body double.
Yes.
Okay.
And the guy in the cab when Raph rolls over that after he's chasing Casey, and he
Yep.
says, "What the heck was that?" And he says, "It looked like a giant turtle." The guy in the
Yep.
back was the guy who played Raph and did his voice. They all
Okay.
make
So
appearances in the
they all
film.
make cameos in the movie.
Yeah.
That's cool. That I didn't
Yeah.
know. That's cool. But no, I mean, like, there's like that moment at one point where he's like, "Hey, you didn't meet the 30-minute guarantee. I'm taking off a
Yeah.
couple of bucks."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just was like, "That's cool." I mean, this movie did the movie had a fair amount of product placement for the time, and
Yeah.
it all seemed to kind of work. I mean, like sometimes, in this day and age, they go for like one of two angles. It's so subtle you just barely catch it, or they like beat you over the head with it. And this was like right in the middle. Like
Yeah.
I think at one point I saw with the packaging for like a Whopper and a
Yes.
Burger King cup at one point, and I was like, wow, I wasn't around or eating
Yep.
Whoppers in 1992, so it was like, huh, cool to see.
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, it's pretty cool that they did that. I think the movie itself was
Hmm.
well put together
Hmm. Yeah.
for for a movie that was because to be honest, you if you really break down the concept
Hmm.
of Ninja Turtles, it's a fairly ridiculous concept. I mean,
Sure.
it's
And
bad.
I mean that's why
Crazy.
it was a comic, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times things that like start out as comics are things that are meant to be too fanciful for,
Right.
reality, right? You can't
Yes.
explore it in another medium, so look at it here.
But I think they for the time were able to really capture a good, a vibe between that sort of reality and
Hmm.
what the comic book, really kind of represents. So
Right.
it's a good standout film. And at that time when comic book movies were just trying to start to get
Hmm.
out, because Batman, they're right off the heels of Batman from the year before.
Right. Right. And
This was, you know,
it definitely had a feel akin to that. Like
Mhm.
it's so weird too because I mean like they probably well so yeah Batman would have been they had a couple of years on Batman or they came out a couple of years after Batman but
No,
like
it was the second, it was like Batman came out in
return.
89. This was 1990. So it was right.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I mean, they were. I mean, and
Yeah.
back then, the film probably had been in production for a bit. They don't have the like, you know, uh, short production times like we get nowadays, where you hear about movies that got made in like 20 days or whatever. Sometimes,
Yeah.
but like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it did a very good job of like capturing the 90s. I mean, I was born in New York City, so I mean, some of those
Okay.
things like reminded me of growing up. I mean, I was there until 94, 95 until I moved upstate. So
Okay. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, you saw a little bit of that
yeah.
kind of feel.
By film's end, if I recall, so they I mean it's a pretty straightforward plot. It's nothing too
Mhm.
crazy. Essentially, it's kind of like we get introduced to the turtles. The turtles, start to kind of branch out their social connections between Casey Jones and April,
Mhm.
and they sort of get entangled with the Foot Clan, through I think April at first, and then just sort of the general undertone of their problem in the city.
Right.
And by film's end, they're confronting them and they're fighting Shredder on a roof.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, they beat him, and they're the big heroes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but he's not like dead. It's not like he's gone. It's
Mhm.
kind of very atypical for the time, especially like in a cartoon episode, almost like, hey, I live to fight another day kind of deal.
Yep. Well, and
So
they did that in the comic. At the very end of the first issue,
mhm.
they threw him off the building and he blew up.
Yeah,
And
oh
then
yeah,
several issues later, he returns,
yeah.
a Phoenix Rising type of thing. So
Mhm.
he does have
Mhm.
that sort of ability in the
Yeah.
comics too. So they played that well.
Yes.
Because yeah, let's
And
like rolling into Teenage Mutant Ninja
two.
Turtles 2. So
Mhm.
Seeking of the Ooze, as it was titled,
Yeah.
because the success of the first film, huge hit,
Mhm.
they're like, we need to get a new one out. And they pumped it out. It came out a year later, exactly to the
Really,
day. A year
really, it was
later,
91.
91, March 30th, 91. It was like exactly a year later it came out.
Wow.
So
So they that was in the theater
they
for a month or two, and they're like, all right, let's get back to work.
yeah, I think they were like, let's do this. And I think at the time,
Hmm.
it was difficult to get all to secure the actors that quickly because when they signed on for the first film, there weren't plans for any more. They didn't know if
I
they would make.
wonder if, and I was going to ask you too, if that had anything to do with the necessity in recasting some of the roles. I mean,
I think so.
we got April was
Yes.
recast.
Yep,
We
Paige
just
Turco took over her in the second film. It was originally, what's her name? She was in the Halloween Town films. Judith
oh
Hoag was
yeah.
the original April. She was
Hmm.
in several movies. She was already doing movies. She did a movie with Robin Williams
Hmm.
and Robbins, like a few months later, came out
Well,
called
and
Cadillac
sure.
Man.
So I mean, I feel like they decided on the fly they wanted to do a sequel. I mean, people have already moved on. Their schedules of like,
Right.
they're not as readily available to like
Yeah.
hop between
Because they're,
films
yeah,
back then like
as an
now.
actor, you're already signing on for your next projects.
Hmm.
And they're
Yeah.
like, no, we need you for this. And it's like, I'm
Yeah.
already booked for this.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, not sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. So they, the same director wasn't available. Nobody was available. They had to kind of,
Hmm.
other than Jim Henson's work, they had
Yep.
to kind of figure out what they could do.
Hmm.
The only returning people, other than, some of the voices and such, was Chief Stearns.
Okay.
Um, Technically, Ernie Reyes
Hmm.
Jr. returned,
Hmm.
who played
Ooh.
Keno. He was one of the he did a lot of the stunt work for the Turtles in
Hmm.
costume for the first film. So I think
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, let's put him, let's showcase him because he's acted in several things before. He'd done a
Mhm.
TV series called Sidekicks in the 80s. Those
N-
us 80 kids would remember
Now,
the joke
who
there.
did he play in number two?
He was Keno, the
Keno.
pizza guy.
He was like the was he the boy that kind of
Yes,
replaced
Casey.
Casey Jones?
Yes,
Okay.
that's Ernie Reyes
Yep.
Jr. Yeah, he was like a karate sort of
Hmm.
expert at the time or whatever, martial arts
Well,
expert.
and that was sort of my thought too. And I wondered to myself, like, okay, we're not like flat out calling him Casey Jones, but he's sort of
Right.
standing in for that role. Like he's their human fighting,
Because
like you said, kind of like sidekick.
yeah, him and Raph kind of
Yeah.
bond and that kind of thing. So yeah,
Hmm.
so there was
Um.
they kind of used that same formula for the two of them.
Yeah. So two picks up after one. I mean,
Yep.
it's not like right after. We've had some time pass. Like April at the end of one gets a promotion. She's like talking about how oh, this other reporter's got an office, a
Right, the
this, a
corner
that. So
office. Right.
yeah, so she gets a promotion,
Yep.
and like it looks like her first like major story, after being promoted is like reporting on like chemicals, the
Mhm.
chemical company that
Yes.
created the byproduct, which ended up creating the Turtles and Splinter
Yes.
in their current forms.
TGRI was the name. In the comic, it's TCRI, but they just changed.
Mm.
It. But same
And
premises.
they so she's like on site, kind of like doing like almost like an expose.
Yes.
But the team there is like very like receptive about letting her record and like do the story and everything. And they're not. Yeah, a lot of times in movies like that, when you start like looking too close at the corporate entity,
Mhm.
your protagonist there is like going to be like tied up on like a printing press or something, in the
Right.
next scene. And but no, they're like very like, oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like we'll
Yeah.
show you everything.
I mean, the you had David Warner playing
Mhm.
a scientist there.
Oh my God.
He's
I
wonderful.
was I love that. So I mean I'm a big Batman animated series guy, and he was the voice of Ra's al Ghul.
Yes, he was
And
fantastic.
so just like I just got to, just have a treat and just like listen to his voice the whole movie, and I'm just like, all right, well, he's gonna do something
Yeah.
nefarious at some point. I'll just sit and wait.
One of the cooler things I wish they had done with
Hmm.
the film that they planned was that he
Hmm.
was supposed to be a Utron. If you're familiar with
Mm.
the legend, the turtle mythology, they have the
Yeah.
brain in their stomach. He was supposed to
Hmm.
reveal that at one point, where he had the
Hmm.
brain in the stomach and he was the robot body for that
Yeah.
brain. But they unfortunately didn't go that far. It would have been great if they did. I think
Yeah.
the
I mean
issue
that's
with that was,
definitely
I
that's a
think the issue
tough
was
thing, I'm
that,
sure, to do like as a practical effect. Like
yes,
probably at the time it would have taken a lot to make it look
yeah,
good and pay for it.
I think money was a concern, and the other thing
Hmm.
was, he was already kind of portrayed as a bad guy, that sort of character in the cartoon. I think they didn't really
Hmm.
want to change that. They wanted to keep. I think they might have people might have saw him as a villain when he really wasn't. So I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know if some of those things might have played a factor in it. But yeah, he still, it was still great to have him in the film.
Hmm.
He was one of those like bright spots of that. Shredder returns. That was
Hmm.
actually a new actor playing Shredder in this one. Not that you would know. But this guy, I don't know if you're familiar with like Lost, the TV show Lost, or any of those things.
I never watched it,
Um,
but I'm aware of it.
there's this. He was on all these videos that they aired. He's in a lot of stuff, but the guy that played
Hmm.
him, he's one of those actors that you'll see a lot.
Okay.
And this was one of
Yeah.
his earlier American roles.
Okay.
You had Tatsu returned. His
I was gonna say Tatsu looked like he was the same guy.
main guy. Yep, he came
Yep.
back.
Okay.
So
His
And in
his
fact,
schedule must have been free.
he's like, I got nothing going on.
Eh.
I'll show up. Why not?
But yeah, you get Shredder back. He's a little battle damaged,
Yep.
and now he's sort of like changed his focus to
Mm,
be like more turtle specific because
yep.
he recognizes that they're a threat,
Yep. So
and they
we got to
go
figure out how we can
retrieve.
get them.
What's
What do
that?
we do?
Yeah, how
Yeah,
do we get them?
right.
And he learns about the ooze, which
Yes.
helped create them. And for the sake of MacGuffins and Deus Ex Machinas, there's one canister of ooze left,
Of course.
and the bad guy wants to take it and make his own army of turtles,
Oh,
or at the very least, like mutated creatures that are
yes.
under his control.
Yes. That would
And
be so
he
powerful. And
doesn't quite get what he wants.
mhm.
He gets some mutants,
Toka
but
and
they're
Razan.
yeah, but they're babies,
Yes.
or at the very least, conscious wise, they're babies,
Yes. Yes.
and that kind of like puts a damper on his plans.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, for lack of a better term, right? Because like he can't use them the way he wants, and I think it eventually turns into kind of it's just eventually going to lead to like another Shredder Turtle showdown.
Yep.
Um, and gee, I just saw this too. I want to say that the turtles even kind of co-opted the babies,
Yeah.
and I say babies, but I mean they were like full-fledged creatures. Like what were they? Like
One was a wolf, one was a snapping turtle. Those were the
okay, yep. So but they were like full-sized, but they just had like the minds of the baby.
right. Yes. The
And
mentality of the
so,
mutant.
six mutants and a handful of I don't even think they called them the Foot Clan this time, did they? It was just
I
like
think they still
Shredder's.
refer to it as the foot, but
Did
it wasn't
they
as
de- they didn't look the part. It was like
right.
a more like wayward kids that like weren't the same wayward kids.
Yeah.
And I was kind of just like in my head, I'm like, Shredder got beat in the first one, and like they broke up the gang. Like, what's the enticement for these kids now?
Right.
They like did they hear like did not hear that part of the story and just remember whatever the initial recruitment line was? Like, hey, come hang out with us in the sewers. It'll be real fun.
Right. You
But
know, we don't steal anything anymore. You just gotta kind of
no,
come
we're
to
just
the
getting
junkyard,
ready to fight the turtles.
hang out at the
Um,
junkyard.
so and I definitely want to give you a chance in a second to like set me straight on this because I know when we first talked about doing this, we kind of pointed out that TMNT 2 and 3 had some controversies, but
Mhm.
one didn't really. And I just remember saying to you like, well, I gotta see one if I'm gonna see 2 and 3.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and in a lot of cases, I feel like with the sequel movie, right? And it's not always like there are definitely exceptions like
Mhm.
Back to the Future too. But I feel like a lot of times with the sequel movie, you like it more than the original because you can just hop right in, and
Yep.
you don't need the world building.
Right.
Um, but I think the only times you really like that is when the world building is boring. And I enjoyed the world building in
Right.
one, so
Yeah.
it didn't bother me to like not or I don't know, to hop away from it in two.
Sure.
I almost like I think I liked one better than two, not because I thought like two was bad, but just
Right.
I enjoyed like seeing that world get created, and
Yes.
you sort of have the opposite effect when you hop right in and don't have the world building. You're just sort of like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
but
I mean, yeah, you're in the world. You're
you're
just
that you're
you're
there, and you
accepting
didn't
what's
get
there.
to experience it this time around, but that's
You kind of
okay.
have to
They got other
accept
stuff
what's
they got
there.
to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
This, Jim Henson returned, did the
yep,
costumes again,
mm-hmm,
looked great. Um, Changed a few things, like some of the faces were modified here and there, but nothing substantial. You still had the same essential
mm-hmm,
feel of them. I think one of the things that was lacking was Donatello. They had to recast because here's a controversy. Corey Feldman, who did the voice in the first film,
mm-hmm.
was in jail at the time, so he couldn't
Oh,
for drug charges
mm-hmm,
at the time. So he was unable to fulfill his ability to record the Donatello lines. So they recast him. Josh Pais didn't return as Raphael, so they had somebody doing it, a very similar, like Brooklyn-y type accent for
mm-hmm,
him. Um, but I think the biggest controversy that movie faced was that they took to heart a lot of what the parents complained about in the first film. And they said,
Okay.
okay, let's make this more kiddified, for lack of a better term. But
Mhm.
let's make it more for kids. It's a little
Okay.
lighter in the action. Notice like they don't really fight with their weapons much. Like in the beginning, they're fighting the kids in that mall or whatever, they're using toys, sausages, and all these things. That's
Hmm.
all because they're like, we're gonna lighten up a little bit of that,
Okay.
that tone with that.
Okay.
Because they didn't want to, because I think that was a big thing is parents like the kids want all these weapons now to pretend they're the Ninja Turtles, and they're like
Right.
so like I don't want them to have those. Well,
Okay.
a big controversy with the cartoon was Michelangelo's nunchucks. First off, in Europe, the word ninja was illegal. I believe that's in England, so they had to call it Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in Europe. And by the fourth season of the animated series, Michelangelo no longer used nunchucks. He has, from that point, from 4 up through 10, no more nunchucks. He uses a hook with a rope, and it's all because nunchucks were illegal in those countries, so they didn't want kids kind of mirroring that. So the producers of the cartoon took that to heart as well. So they
Okay.
kind of did that with the movie. I think they were trying to like, okay, there's still action. We're still gonna have them fight. We're still gonna have them do their thing, but let's have them use, these weird objects here and there. They're not really fighting directly with the swords like they were in the first film or whatever else they had. So they tried to
And
make it a look
it's sort of ironic too because I mean this is still at the advent of the early 90s, and it
right.
seems like they kind of didn't evolve more towards that method. I mean, maybe they tried it and the rest of the world were like, and we don't really like this because by 1995, you've got the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers
Right.
that, each of those guys had a laser gun, like the
Yep.
same laser gun, and then they each had their own unique weapon,
Yeah.
sword,
Like
bow and arrow,
yeah.
this and
So
that.
heck. Yeah.
And that was like the thing. Everybody like watched that, and I don't know if like the parents stopped complaining, or if
I,
they were just like, oh, this is coming from Japan, it's okay.
I think that, and
But
I think at the same time, two parents found it more annoying than anything. So I don't think they paid attention. I think they're like, oh, whatever. This is
it
ridiculous.
was,
I'm not
I
watching
mean,
this.
it's almost like temporary pacification. Like you do it, and then when the parents stop looking,
Yeah.
stop looking, when they look away, it's like, all right, now we
Right.
can do something, like what we used to do.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we'll
Yep.
get back on track with what we are doing. But yeah, I think to some degree, I don't think it hurts the film that they
Hmm.
do stuff like that, but I think it deterred those fans from the first movie to
Hmm.
really be like, oh, they weren't behind this one as much because this
Mm.
movie obviously didn't make as much. Most sequels don't,
Right.
but I think this one did suffer from that, because a lot of the kids that really found the sort of the edgier side of the first film, or even
Hmm.
the adult or teenage fans that liked it, they lost it in this one. And I think that was, the repeat viewers were not going back like they would from the first film.
Right.
So it hurt that it to some degree. So the movie successful, but not
Hmm.
as successful. And I think ramping up production so quickly, trying to get it out
Hmm.
in such a rapid pace
Sure. I mean,
that
sometimes that makes aspects of the film suffer. If
yeah.
you're rushing along.
I
I
mean,
mean,
they you have to bang out a script quickly, and you don't really have a lot of time to rewrite and get it to where you want. You most likely they're doing it on set, and they do that in all movies at this point. But
sure.
I think at that time it was you're a little more constrained because in a movie like a Marvel movie, like, oh, we can fix it in post, we can computer generate this or that for it. Here you can't do that. You're kind of stuck with what practical pieces
Right.
you
So you
have.
got to kind of figure that out quick and
Right.
get it right quick.
Yeah. They tried another big controversy, and I think this is something that turned a lot of fans off, was the final battle in the
Mm.
dance club, where they bring
Yeah.
out, at the time, the hottest recording artist, Vanilla Ice, as the performer.
Hmm.
Because at the time he was, he's hit record. They gave him a movie which was coming out right after this one, called Cool as Ice, which we should talk
Hmm.
about one day. But he was hot. So like let's put him in the movie. And he
Hmm.
he does the ninja rap song while they're battling and whatnot.
Yeah, and I
So
mean, like the final battle's not even doesn't really feel much like a fight. Like they're in a
yeah,
dance hall dancing around. You know, by the end of
yeah.
the movie, they're like the credits are rolling over them dancing. Like
Mhm.
at one point, I think I had to rewind a little bit because I'm like, wait, how did they
Yeah,
win? Did they just
yeah,
like win the dance off?
right. They use the fire extinguisher
Hmm.
to like
Oh,
activate
well,
whatever the mutagen.
and we I was gonna say we did miss one cool little part here.
Yeah.
So so the circle back a little bit, we get the ooze, and the intent was to make an army, but when it kind of doesn't go to plan for Shredder, Shredder decides to be patient zero himself.
Yeah,
And
that's right. Yes, that's
Shred
right.
yeah. So
He takes
the way
I
he
mean,
sort of ups his game against the turtles is he becomes Super Shredder. He's like
super shredder.
mutated.
Hmm. Which I
And
thought was so cool because he
yeah,
looked awesome as he got
yeah,
huge,
yeah.
but the battle was so short, and I was like, I really want more. I
Right.
get
And
it. Probably couldn't
it
practically.
it definitely adds an edge to the turtles of like there's nothing he can do to beat us, even though he clearly has the advantage. And like,
Mhm.
you know, in some movies, again, we get the MacGuffin, we get the thing that's like going to turn the tide, and there really wasn't
Right.
something like that. It's just like Shredder's even stronger than last time, but we've got the power of Turtle Brotherhood on our side, for lack of a better term.
Right. But he winds up
So,
beating himself, really. I mean, because
mhm.
he breaks the dock and it falls on him, and that's it. It's like, okay.
Yep. Hmm.
What are you gonna do? But yeah, that
That's
was
and I mean, again, I think that's another one of those like cartoon like
Mhm.
comparisons where like it's really kind of like this is just how we beat Shredder this time. You know he's gonna
right.
come back because he's our guy.
Right.
So
And at the same time, you don't want your heroes killing anybody. They
no,
it
yeah,
always leaves a
I
bad
mean they
taste
could have
in
gone
your
the
mouth.
Batman route though, and like had him like locked up in Arkham
Mhm.
Asylum or whatever
Sure.
Sing Sing or whatever prison they want to use.
Right, yeah, yeah. Whatever works in
But
that then.
yeah,
Yeah, so
um, that's the end of the second movie. So
yep.
um, Turtles
So
3.
Turtle Hot,
Um,
we need a third.
mhm.
Everything's trilogy. So of course they're
Ev-
gonna make a third film, and they do.
Everything's third. I will go out on a limb and say on paper I like the concept for three.
Yes.
I
Me
think
too.
that the idea of like kind of pulling on Splinter's roots from Japan and then uh, eventually putting the turtles in feudal Japan,
Mhm.
it sounds great to me.
It does.
I mean, like for years I loved playing the Assassin's Creed games in it, and
Yep.
every time the surveys came around and asked players, "Hey, where do you want the next location to be?" Everybody loves feudal Japan. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter when. People just love it as a setting. So
Sure.
so when I'm looking at this and I'm seeing it, I'm like, how can this one be the worst one?
Right. Which
So
people, yeah.
I start the movie and we had talked about one thing, and right in the opening credits on the version that I've got, it says in memory of Jim Henson.
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah.
I almost took that as a joke, not because I'm making light of Jim Henson's death, but I wasn't sure if they were referring to him specifically or the fact that the relationship between Jim Henson Studios and the Turtles had ended because Jim Henson wasn't part of the third movie, right? Or his studio.
He was not. He had nothing to do. He had passed away after the first movie came out.
Right.
He'd been working on the second when he
Yeah.
died. He died around
Yeah.
September 1990, I believe, somewhere in there. So
Right.
he never saw the second film released. He was already passed. So and at
But
that
his
point,
but his
um,
company still existed, and it
it
was
did.
for whatever reason, and maybe there's they weren't in the third, so I don't know if it was just because of the fact that Jim had like you said had started work on two, so they had something to go on, or there just some sort of like business relationship didn't go on. But
I think it had to
straight,
do with money. I
bro,
think
so they couldn't
they
afford him.
yeah, I think that's what it came
Okay,
down to. I think
okay,
because they gave so much money to the second film and it didn't
hmm,
return as much, they're like, you're
no,
getting a small budget for this one. So they cut
okay.
that budget really short. They're like really
Geez,
small.
with all the money they made on one, I'm sure they still had money lying around they could have
Well,
thrown
I'm
at these.
sure. I mean, it's such
But
a viable franchise. There was
yeah,
no reason they couldn't have put a little
yeah,
extra in it. I think if they did,
yeah.
they might have seen a bigger return.
Sure. So right from Jump Street, we see the costumes of the turtles,
Mhm.
and I know I mentioned to you in passing about this. I actually didn't think that the costumes for the or like like the design for the turtles were like drastically terribly different
Right,
at first.
right.
Then you start to see some of the moments with like the animatronics and the movement, and it becomes very glaringly obviously not as good quality.
Yeah.
Um,
They're like
and then you
arcade
pan over
games.
to Splinter for the first time, and oh boy, like
Yeah.
that
Splinter, they really
the puppet, whatever they were using, like he looks real bad.
and not only that, he never left behind that window. Like the whole time he's just there at that window. Like they couldn't even move him to the chair, just sitting in a chair or something. He just
Right.
behind that window the whole time.
Yeah, which I think eventually ends up hurting some of
Yeah.
the back in time story, right? Because he's not there to go with them.
Yeah, I agree because I think he would have been the benefit
It
of
would have
being.
made more sense.
Mhm.
Um, so um, boy, this one, like I said, this one, like kind of it looks good on paper, and then as you start watching
Yeah.
it gets harder and harder to kind of take.
It's
Um,
I think again they tried to get
mhm.
more serious this
Yeah,
time.
and
But
actually, and that shows with the weaponry and stuff, right?
yeah,
Like when we get back
yep,
to Japan, there's no
right,
pacification
right,
in like what they're showing the audience. I
100%.
did not get any sense at all that I'm like, oh,
I
we're
mean,
kidifying this. Like we went back to
and
being
you're right.
more
You've
serious.
got the the European
Mhm.
villains with guns. They're shooting
Yeah, oh
off
yeah,
cannons,
and
and so
that's
yeah,
a point that I would give the film, right? Like that it had over too. Like we recognize that we kind of overcorrected and
yeah,
we reeled it back a little. And
mhm.
again, like that's something that the film can say, it did better than two on.
Yes,
Um,
agreed. I can tell
so
you what I really like about the third
mhm,
film. I
yeah,
love the villain,
hmm
Walker. I really love the actor that plays him. He just
yeah.
chews that scenery beautifully.
British bad guys are sought after for a reason because they just kind of command a presence.
Yes.
Like just like British people in film in general, like they kind of draw the scene to them. So then when you're British and bad, it up next level.
Yeah.
But so
He's not it's not the first time he's played a villain. He plays a great
mhm,
villain in
yeah,
Lethal Weapon 3, and
okay,
he's even better as a villain in The Mask of Zorro from 97.
no,
I love him in that film. I think he's just
mm,
wonderful in that.
okay. Um,
That I like, and I think the other thing I
mm,
liked was the return of Casey Jones. I was very happy
we got
they got
Casey Jones back.
inexperienced back.
I was a little upset that we didn't really get an answer
Not
for where
enough.
he was
Right.
in
Yes.
two. I mean, you could have written like one throwaway line like, "Yeah, man, that mission in Atlantic City was real dangerous, but I did it myself."
Right. And
Nothing,
yeah,
just yeah.
somehow
He was
like link
he
it
was
to
on a
where he's
bender and
going.
he didn't want to talk about it.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think I wish they gave him more to do. I like what he did because
Mhm.
well, you had him playing a part in feudal Japan. He was like sort of a guy that looks like Casey, maybe some
Mhm.
ancestor or something. But the
Mhm.
Casey in present time was kind of stuck babysitting the shoguns that got
Yeah.
sent there.
Yeah.
So he didn't
Well,
get as much fun
yeah.
stuff.
So that's something we can talk about for a second too. So it all sort of starts by like April goes to like a rummage sale or a yard sale or
Yes.
something, and she comes back with a bunch of junk and tchotchkes, and
Yep.
she's got a lamppost, for lack of a better description, that is a weird time travel artifact that if set up in just the right way will transport the people on one side of it to the other side and vice versa.
Right. Yeah.
um, I think we learned
That's a
some weird thing about the clothing, like if
yeah.
you're
There's a
wearing
really
clothing, the
weird
people
thing
that
about
show
that.
up get your clothing.
And they have to be the same mass that
Yeah, yeah,
move.
yeah.
So you can't be lighter or heavy. You have to be the same. So I'm like, so this guy that she switches with, that April switches with, they're the
Yeah.
same weight. I'm like, this guy looks way bigger than her.
Allegedly. I
I'm
mean,
like, is that saying that she's fat?
there's a lot about that. They never really explained like the full range of or explanation of like why is
Yeah.
there one of these time poles in this time and one in the other time? Is it the same pole,
Right.
just in two different
Yeah.
points in time? Like
Yeah.
I
The
get it. Like you don't have to get too detailed, but something would have been nice.
Yeah, something. That lamp thing, whatever, the scepter, that was taken from the Tales of the TMNT books, I think 6 and 7.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool. That I
there
didn't know.
there was a character named Renee, and she was
Hmm.
sort of like this like amateur
Hmm.
wizardish character, and she had it, and she was kind of getting lost in time, and she kind of sucked the turtles in. There's this character called Savante Romero, this big sort of goat,
Hmm.
guy, big horns and you
Yeah.
know cloven feet. He's trying to get it from this girl, and they kind of help her, and they get trapped in time with her
Hmm.
mainly in dinosaur time. That's where they were in those, so they couldn't really go that route with it.
I partly wondered if this like was inspired by wasn't there a Turtles in Time game?
Yes, yes, there
I
was.
I I don't remember playing it, or if I do, I don't remember like the plot of it. But I just kind of wondered to myself since like they pulled from source material for most of these that maybe this was the plot for the game. But
It might have been. I can't remember the
mhm,
plot for the video game either, but yeah, they might have took something very similar. But yeah, that
mhm,
it does have origins in the comics and probably
mhm.
from some of the other media as well.
Um, other than that though, I don't know. There was a lot of stuff about this that like it just didn't make a whole lot of sense, or like it was like you know what I mean. Like they
Yeah,
swapped places with the like
yeah,
the like the guards and like other like members of kind of like the shogun's court,
yeah.
and it was just like I don't need to see this stuff. I
Yeah.
mean like it's cool, but like if you want to do this back in time turtle story, show me the just give me all of it in the
Yeah,
past with the
they
turtles.
should have just moved everybody to feudal Japan and then
Yeah,
found a way to get it back. That would have been more than enough. They don't
right.
have to figure out, they don't have to
These
explain how time travel
these
works
these
and
movies don't have tons of time, so like cutting away to other people that we don't know doing
yeah,
BS in the present while
yeah,
the turtle like we could be
yeah,
looking at the turtles in the past. I was like, okay, cool, thanks, but no.
yeah. I liked how they had, Michelangelo was, had a crush on the one girl in the village,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
that's always kind of cool when they add those sort of humanistic stories to these sort of
Yeah.
things to make it, give you something to kind of follow with. Um, but yeah, I think with the one of the things that always glared at me and watching it again recently was the end. So when Walker is finally vanquished, the villain,
Mhm.
he
Yep.
falls over the edge of the cliff and he goes into the water. You watch him fall, and it gets to a point where they don't even know what to do anymore. They just kind of he disappears. There's no splash to the water. He just kind of vanishes. So they didn't
Yep.
have the footage to fill in that. They're just like, just get rid of him. It's one of the
Yeah.
most glaring things when you watch it, because when you watch it, like that just takes me right out of that moment.
I I really like I try my best not to be like a super
I know.
nitpicker, but like I run
Yep.
into that too. Like at one point I'm listening to like yes, okay, you've established that we're at a point in Japanese history where like there's English traders, visitors, settlers, whatever, but like to try to sell me on the idea that everybody in Japan at the time was speaking fluent English, I was like, I'm not buying this.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I know they were
Especially,
doing it for a story convenience perspective,
yeah. I mean,
but
especially the villagers. There's no way they would have been educated enough
exactly
to.
right. Like these people, they're lucky if they could read their own language, let alone speak fluently in another language. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah, yeah. It was. I get it. It's for the edification of the audience, but it's not really.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
I can set it aside, when looking at it like critically, because I'm like, again, I get it.
Yes.
You're trying to appeal to children and their families. You don't want to slap a bunch of subtitles on the screen. That's fine,
Yeah.
but we're looking at it, 30 years later, so
Right.
we can play a little fast and loose with what we have to be
True.
okay with.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, this film did
Yeah.
end the franchise. Not a
Well,
huge hit.
did it though? Because you intimated at the beginning that there might have been more.
There is. So yes. Well,
Mm.
in between,
Oh.
there was a series called it was Ninja Turtles, where it was a live action show. It was from the producers of Power Rangers. They made
Mhm.
essentially that. And it looks very much like they took the costume designs and everything right from the third film and
Hmm.
moved into this. Now, there's no connection. That's me
Mm.
just but there is a connection in the 2007 movie TMNT, the animated one that
Oh,
came out from Imaji. If you ever get to watch it, it's a great movie. It is
okay.
fantastic. I highly recommend it. Um, at the end of it, the one thing that they do to tie it together is Michelangelo has this moment in the movie where he dresses up as this character called Party something or other. He wears like a big turtle mask that looks like his own face, but at the end he's retiring it. So he puts it on a shelf, and on that shelf you see Shredder's mask from the first film, the exact mask, the helmet and everything, and the other things from the other films. You see all like the scepter, all that stuff is on that shelf.
Oh,
So they kind of allude to the fact that this is a fourth film in that series without actually
really?
saying that. So it was a really cool little nod
Now,
to those
didn't
movies.
didn't those movies have sequels though?
This one did not. This was only a one and done movie. TMNT only got one. The one you're
Okay.
referring to, the Paramount ones, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because
Okay.
TMNT was fully animated. It was CGI
Okay.
animated. There's no live action at all.
Okay.
The one that came out in 2014, that was when they sort of restarted it again. They had only had two films from that one. They have
Okay.
they've struggled with, building the franchises back and really
Yeah.
keeping it going. The new movie, The Mutant Mayhem, did really well, so I think they've got a sequel for that coming. So hopefully they
I
can keep.
I I enjoyed that for the
Yes,
most part.
me too.
I really liked the art style on
Yes,
that one, and
it was fun.
the choice in actors between like the fact that they got like a lot of like young unknowns for the turtles,
Yep,
um, so they could actually kind of like grow them out if they like want to like keep
yep,
going, but also like big names like for they had like the doctor who was the Fly. I think we had
yes,
Bebop and Rocksteady,
yes.
which
A lot of fun in
was was kind of like sucky to like not have had them sooner. So it was cool that they like went that route this time and not like Shredder again, even though
Right.
they kind of like uh allude to him at the end, so he'll probably be the villain in the next one.
Yes. Yep.
Um, and I know it's not necessary, but I think it would help, uh, if they did some connectivity between the shows and these movies. Like
I agree.
it seems like Nickelodeon has a sort of uh they seem to keep redoing new cartoons for it, but I don't know that they're necessarily connected to each other or the films.
Yeah, I don't think they. I think the Tales of the
It
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one that's connected to the new movies, but that's it.
Okay.
Like
I
a
mean,
newer
like
series of
connectivity helps sometimes too, because
yeah,
then like when kids like go see the one, then they can like go see the movie or the TV
yeah,
show, and they can be like, oh wow, it was just like a longer episode, or like
yes.
these couple episodes make me like remind me of the big movie. But
Hmm.
it seems like
Yeah,
something that they're having a hard time like keeping like consistency with that stuff. I hope they figure it out. I mean,
me
again,
too.
like that Mutant Mayhem was pretty cool.
It
It
was.
it it had a very like I think at the time when I watched, I compared it to like Spider Verse.
Yes, agreed.
It
Yes.
the like looking like the stuff was lifted from a comic almost.
Yep. Yep. I agree. Yeah, it
Um,
was it was just really kind of a really inventive design
yeah,
for that series. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie.
yeah,
I definitely recommend TMNT.
hmm,
Watch it, the 2007 one. It
okay,
it stars Patrick Stewart's in it.
hmm,
You've got Sarah Michelle Gellar. You've got as
oh,
Gabriel. You have Chris Evans as Casey
oh,
Jones. Yeah,
wow,
so it's got a really impressive voice cast in there,
hmm,
and I think they really tell a great story. And
okay,
when you see that link at the end, it just sort of is a little satisfying nod that you're like, it felt good to see that.
hmm.
It made the film. I really enjoyed the film very
Does
much.
anything happen in the film that like contradicts the other ones, or does it really
No,
feel like it could just
nope.
go
Shredder's
on?
still missing. Shredder's missing. The Turtles kind
Mm-hmm.
of broke up, and they aren't together. So it's
Mm-hmm.
them coming back together. And Shredder is missing, but Karai, his daughter, is running the foot and saying
Okay.
he's returning. So there was a lot of allusion to what would have happened if they continued it. But they
Okay.
don't contradict anything in the other films. They kind of just
Okay.
carry the story forward, which I thought was
That's cool.
was cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I might have to give it a look, Lou.
I definitely recommend it.
Hmm.
Any final thoughts on the Ninja Turtle trilogy now that we've kind of discussed all these interesting aspects of it? We handled three movies in this hour.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, again, like I don't know if it's fair to compare it to other like famous trilogies, but it
Right.
definitely seems like it goes kind of in descending order. Like it like one
Yes.
like is the best, two is fine, and three is like versus like some where you watch like Spider Man and you get like
Yeah.
good, best, well,
Yep.
what the hell happened?
It,
Or
it does. It falls in
I
the
mean
same.
we've talked Back to the Future. I mean that one Back to the Future is a tough one. Back to the Future, I think it's very similar. Like one's great,
Yep.
two is like fine, and then I think
It,
three is also great.
three is great. It's one of my favorites of that series. I
Yeah,
really love
same.
three.
So this one it just sort of like by the trend of getting worse and worse, you sort of wonder how did they keep like making these movies if
Yeah.
they probably progressively made less money and were less critically successful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's like,
nice
how do
that
you
they kept
capture
giving
that
them.
magic of that first
Yeah,
film?
or just like the fact that they gave them the shot over and over,
Yeah.
in this day and age, like, you got shows that like get canned after like 8 episodes because they
No.
didn't make it. I mean, like three
Yeah.
movies, that's a lot of
Yeah.
confidence
That is all.
or
Yeah.
hope.
And I think about like Superman movies.
Mm,
Superman one
y-
is great. Superman two is great. Superman three, it kind of goes down. And I think
yeah.
Batman, some people will even say the same. The first one's great, second one was
Oh,
good.
sure. I mean,
One,
by the time you get to back credit card, you're like, whoa,
yeah,
how did we get here?
yeah, where did what happened? Yeah, I get it. So sometimes it kind of, things happen.
Yeah.
And money is a big issue, and
Hmm.
toys are a big issue especially back then.
Hmm.
Merchandise was huge.
Hmm.
That's what's kind of feeding the beast is you sell more
Right.
toys, you're going to get more money. So that's, I think in the same time they're trying to. And Ninja Turtles 3, they did a pretty big merchandise push, but I don't think it helped.
I think by then it was too late.
Yeah, I think at that point you kind of missed that boat. Didn't really work out. But I
Mm-hmm.
still, I would recommend the trilogy, especially the first couple films, if you really want to kind of just have fun and just see this wacky idea
Yeah.
of these anthropomorphic turtles running
Hmm.
around New York City, especially in these costumes. It works,
Sure.
and it was I think for the time one of the more solid comic book adaptations.
Definitely. I mean, it definitely doesn't have any issue translating from its other mediums.
Yep.
It's more just an issue of consistency.
Yeah.
Different cooks in the kitchen, again, maybe budgetary concerns, lots of factors, but
Yeah.
a steady hand in any creative endeavors
Yeah.
is key to like if you've got somebody good, keep having somebody good.
Right.
If you don't, then you end up with
At this
like
time,
Star Wars 7, 8, and 9, where
yeah.
people are like, what? How did we get to the casino planet?
Right.
But yeah,
I think if you think about it too, back then there wasn't really this, hey, let's build this trilogy story that's connected.
sure. I
Star
mean,
Wars did it. That was
I,
it.
yeah. I mean,
Back
I'm
in
sure a lot of it was very by the seat of the pants, and
yeah.
how did the bank account look
Yeah.
after the fact?
Yeah. So for what it was, for that time, I think it's still a solid set of films to
Yeah,
check out.
definitely. And I mean, another way to look at it is you could watch one Lord of the Rings extended one night, or you could watch three Turtles movies. I mean,
Exactly.
three for the price of one.
You could zip through those pretty good. I did it. I did it that when I watched it for this. I watched all three in one day. It was a
Really,
lot of
yeah.
fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably the best way to like keep it in your, keep it
Yeah.
fresh in the brain.
Sure.
But
They're fun. I still like to watch. I mean, you try to introduce them to the younger generation. Say, how does it hold up? Do you see what I saw when it was first came
right,
out? And
true.
I think the first film always does that. The second film still does, but the third film usually like,
Yeah,
they can take it or leave it.
kind of. Yep.
Mhm. All
Well,
right. Oh, there
all
you
right.
go. So our first
That's
tackle of a trilogy. Here we are.
pretty much right. You guys
Yeah.
got any other movie ideas for us? Let us know.
Yeah. Absolutely. We'll be back with something soon for sure. We'll figure out what we're doing.
Yeah. Have a good one.